This is the host of The Simpsons Did It podcast, here to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, it's free. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor:/FM to get started. Hi guys, it's another brand new episode of The Simpsons Did It. I'm your host, Steven Skolansky.
And I am your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
How's it going?
It's good. I think last week's episode went pretty well, and I'm looking forward to talk about this one because I think out of all the season 1 episodes, it's going to come close to one of my favorites, I think.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent one. It was, I guess we'll talk about it at the end. So,
exactly.
Welcome guys. So as you know, on this show, we do like talking about The Simpsons in chronological order by episode. This is episode number 5. We also like to give you guys quick recaps, couch gags, chalkboard gags. You guys kind of know the drill by now by episode 5. But we do have something a bit new for this episode. We finally came up with it. I don't know if you remember, but back in episode 1, we decided to give each episode a 1 through 5 scale, and we had at that point we came up with 1 is dough and 5 is everything's coming up Millhouse. But we figured out 2 through 4. It only took 5 weeks to do it, so we're learning as we go. Yep. So number 1 is obviously dough. Number 2 is eat my shorts.
Yep.
A 3 rating is don't have a cow man. I feel like that's kind of a good middle ground. Not bad, not
but don't
good,
have a cow man.
But don't have a cow man. It's like a maybe. It's like don't have a cow about
it.
Yeah. Is Bart thinking that people are gonna have cows? What if you talked to a farmer? Like, don't have a cow man, but I have 20 of them in the field.
I'm pretty sure the expression is don't overreact.
Yes.
That's what he's getting at.
Yeah, cows overreact too much, especially when getting tipped.
Well.
All right.
Let's move on.
Number 4 is sprinkles. And 5 is everything's coming up Millhouse. So we finally got a rating system for all our episodes. So at the end, we'll give you guys our ratings. Tell us if you liked our ratings, if you didn't like our ratings. And what you would rate it. Maybe you have a good rating for us. And possibly this might be a ongoing thing on our Facebook page where I'll put up a poll for the week. And you guys can rate our episodes on there based on what you like and then do a little commenting. So this week, it's season 1, episode 5, Bart the General. Air date was February 4th, 1990. So after standing up for Lisa, Bart gets terrorized by the school bully and must come up with the plan to stop getting beat up. That's, most kids that have a bully don't sit down and do this sort of thing. They just kind of hunker down and try to ignore the world. But Bart, he didn't want to take any more gum from Nelson Muntz.
Yep.
So, weird thing about this episode, there was no couch gag. And there was no chalkboard gag.
And I think that's because of, and we'll get into it at the end of the episode, obviously, but I think it has to do with how they ended the episode. I think they were trying to be satirical in what they were doing, but also serious at the same time. So
yeah, it just seems really weird to have like The Simpsons and then no anything. Like, I think in the past they've not had couch gags, but they like kind of do almost the whole intro, and then when they get into the couch room, it's just the TV screen with Matt Groening's name on it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So especially for episode 5, seems kind of weird not to have it. So episode
Yeah.
1, episode 5, no chalkboard, no couch. So 2 of 5.
Two
It's
of
about
five.
50%, but we'll see. We'll see how many more episodes they do that with.
Yeah.
So in this episode, I think one of the big things I wanted to talk about right on the top, we really get the brother sister dynamic in this episode.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we understand that Bart really loves his sister no matter how much she's a pain in the butt.
Yep.
I think Lisa has a new respect for Bart, standing up for her, even though she wouldn't give him a cupcake.
Well, did she give him a cupcake?
Yeah, but it was on the school bus floor, so
yeah.
I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. Also, at the top of the episode, we'll kind of get into these more, but we do have some cultural references in this episode that you might not have noticed. Bart slapping a kid and calling him a disgrace, plus the music lifted from Patton when they're sitting on the sidewalk getting ready.
Never seen Patton in my life. Couldn't
Neither
tell
have I.
I mean,
so the marching sequence and kids climbing the jungle gym while the sun was setting was a nod to Full Metal Jacket.
Great movie.
I have seen.
Oh my god, that's such a great movie.
And then the parody of Sailor kissing girl on VJ Day in Times Square. That's a pretty funny one.
Yeah.
So we kind of open up the episode. Marge, and we'll kind of get into this even later in later episodes, but Marge apparently likes making cupcakes.
But she makes other things too.
Yeah, but it seems like in the last 3 episodes, it's been nothing but cupcakes.
I don't. Maybe they're easy to bake. I don't know. I've never baked cupcakes.
But for that's the other thing. I love how she makes cupcakes for breakfast. We make muffins for breakfast now.
But isn't a muffin just a naked cupcake?
Yeah, a muffin is pretty much a naked cupcake. So you're right. Good call. So they end up fighting. Lisa's kind of being the teacher's pet, making cupcakes for her class and her teacher, and Bart and Homer really, really want one, but Lisa is like, nope, sorry, they're for my class. But then I do love the fact that she made an extra one for Otto.
Yeah.
But not for Bart. That was pretty good. But according to Homer, butt kissing isn't all that bad.
Nope.
Which
sometimes it's okay to brown nose a little bit, but you don't want to do it too much where you make all your other coworkers like upset with you, because you don't want to necessarily be a teacher's pet.
Yep, and because then that's where you get beat up by bullies in school because you're a teacher's pet. All right, so we also in this episode right away we get our first appearance of Nelson Muntz, and his little sidekick bullies, which it's really funny because I
feel like this might be the only episode they show up in.
Well, at the very end, obviously we'll get to it, but his bully buddies run away and they're like, oh, okay, we're out of here. And maybe that's when Nelson becomes friends with Jimbo and Kearney, but no Jimbo and Kearney. So Nelson solely has kind of lackeys at his side.
Aren't Jimbo and Kearney though like older kids? They don't go to the elementary school.
Well, I thought, don't they? Maybe not. We'll have to keep an eye. Maybe you're right. Unless Kearney got held back so many.
Doesn't Kearney have a kid?
He does, but the joke, I guess, so it can't be an elementary school.
No. Unless the joke is he got held back for 20 years. In which case, I don't think you're going to go to school after like 2.
No, but I know he's been held back, so we'll put a pin in that. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
But okay, so Bart kind of does this weird swingy thing with his arms.
But he hits him in the stomach.
He somehow manages to hit Nelson in the face.
Yeah.
And I was like, Nelson, you're bleeding. He's like, no, it happens sometimes. I get blood on me.
From other people.
And Nelson kind of rubs his nose like, you made me bleed my own blood. Like, I don't know whose other blood you're going to bleed besides your own, but that was a really funny quote.
Yeah.
I had to write that down.
That was a great quote.
That is. So then we also notice in this episode, Milhouse's hair is blue. So obviously he had a dye job, or they colored it correctly.
Yeah.
Um, so at the end of the day, Nelson's like, okay, you meet after school, playground 3:15, and he's like, put up your dukes, and he punches Bart like 9 times in the face
Nice.
with no repercussions whatsoever. And then he's like, okay, into
See
the
you
trash
tomorrow.
can. See you tomorrow. And he's like, all right, he puts him in the trash can. Then his was like, does tomorrow work for you? And Bart's like, no,
No. Too bad.
too bad. And then throws him down the hill. I do like the fact that he can make it from his school to his house
Yeah.
rolling in a garbage can.
So, like, here's my thing. I'm pretty sure I've seen a map of the layout of Springfield in the show, and I don't feel like the school is at the top of a hill.
Especially enough to sustain rolling of a garbage can all the way to Simpson's house.
Like, you got to imagine there's other houses in the way, and, like, maybe he gets hit by a car, or he hits a fence, or, like, he hits a rock. Like, I mean, I get it, it's a cartoon. It's a cartoon, I get it, but the physics, man, the physics.
And I think in just future episodes of The Simpsons, quote unquote physics gets a lot more realistic.
It does.
Like, it seems like in the earlier episodes, it's like, you know what, anything goes. Let's make it funny. Let's make it, cartoony, and then we'll figure it out. And then, the second time, we'll get to it more, but in the second time, he hacks up his hat.
Yeah.
Like Nelson shoved the hat down Bart's throat.
Again, physics. He'd probably choke to death.
Exactly. So Bart gets home. Everyone's, kind of worried what happened. Bart's, crying in the bathtub about getting beat up, and Homer dries his tears with a blow dryer, and Bart's whole face gets blown away. Once again, physics.
I think you got a lot of physics stuff in the early part of this episode that just don't hold up. Because I'm pretty sure you blow dry your face, your entire skin on your face is not going to go backwards. I get it. It's for comedic effect, but physics.
All right. Yep. The title of this episode, Physics. Why the Simpsons don't have it. All right. So Marge is talking to Bart about basically not fighting. We got to go to the principal. But Homer,
talk to the bully.
Talk to the bully. Be nice. But here's the schoolyard code according to Homer. The code of the schoolyard, Marge, rules that teach a boy to be a man. And he's like, let's see. Don't tattle. Always make fun of those different from you. Never say anything unless you're sure everyone feels exactly the same way you do.
And clearly those are horrible rules. I mean, obviously this was made in 1990, but obviously if you're getting bullied by somebody, or you know somebody who's getting bullied, or if you have kids and you know there's a bully problem, because we've seen way too many times in this day and age where, especially with social media, a kid gets bullied and unfortunately it doesn't get any help and things end badly. So,
yeah, I mean, back growing up, really think about it. I mean, bullying was a problem. No one really, these rules, at least me growing up through elementary school, they pretty much stood firm. Obviously I haven't been to school in God knows how long, but you don't have this sort of experience anymore. There's a lot that's changed since I went to school and kids are going to school now.
Oh, me too.
You got the whole bullying thing, participation trophies just for being in a sport.
Yeah. Obviously, if somebody has a different opinion of you, it's okay to talk to them. Just, and especially I think kids, their opinions are going to be on like what TV shows they don't like, or, it's not going to be like politics or anything, but you know what? If there's a certain TV show that your friend watches that you don't like, it's fine to have differing opinions. Obviously, you probably shouldn't make fun of other people as long as they're okay with it, they're in on the joke, and like you can take a joke as well. Because I feel like there's plenty of people I've met in life that they'll make fun of you, but you can't make fun of them, and like you can't be like that. It's that makes you a bully then if you can't take it.
Yep. So Homer then decides, okay, we're going to fight back. I'm going to teach you how to do things. I do like how, so where he's fighting Nelson, most people would either put a photo of them on a punching bag or draw an angry face or someone me. But Homer draws a smiley face on it. Like Nelson's a happy-go-lucky. Okay, we're gonna kick the nicest kid's ass in this when you go, if they picture Nelson as the nicest kid in the world, beat him up. Yeah, that's what you got.
I love the fact that Homer's like, all right, show me what you got, and Bart takes these like half cocked punches. They're not really doing anything, and Homer's like, no, that's not how you do it, and like literally jumps on the punching bag and buries his teeth in it and rips part of it off, and it's like, who are you, Mike Tyson?
Well, it's so funny to watch this episode and know. I mean, obviously we're going to get to future episodes, but if you think of the boxing episode where Homer becomes a boxer and Homer throws a punch and it doesn't even kill a fly.
Yeah.
In a glove. But Homer in this episode's like tearing someone to shreds, jumping and gouging. But I mean, basically, he is playing dirty. He's, kick him in the family jewels, throw mud in his face. And then when Bart does it, it's like he just upsets him. It's like I hate you, bees, throwing a rock at a beehive, and the bees are like, fine, I'm gonna kick your butt.
Yep.
So Bart's like, this isn't working, and it's like Lisa. Well, I think it was Lisa, right? She's like, who has more? Lisa's like, who has more experience about being in a war than Grandpa? So Bart goes to the home.
Yeah.
And
I love the fact that he goes in there and he's like, I'm looking for Grandpa.
Yeah.
And like all the old people pop out, and the lady is like, you're gonna have to be a little bit more specific than that because everybody here has a grandpa. He's like, Grandpa Simpson.
Yep. And then everyone's like, oh, and goes back in their door. So Grandpa,
visit your grandparents, by the way.
Yep. Is this first? No, this is the first Grandpa Simpson episode.
Yes and no. He does appear in the Christmas episode.
Oh, right, at the very end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's also on the couch too when they bring in Santa's little helper. So yes, he's been in an episode, but I believe this is the first episode where he actually gets to talk.
Yep. So words Grandpa Simpson doesn't want to hear on TV anymore. Well, it's more of the advertisers. Yeah. Like he doesn't want to advertise. So I'm disgusted with the way old people are depicted on television. We are not all vibrant sex maniacs. Many of us are bitter, resentful individuals who remember the good old days when entertainment was bland and inoffensive. Here, then the words he doesn't want to hear anymore: bra, family jewels,
and horny.
Yeah. So, like, what commercials is he watching on TV where old people are sex maniacs?
I mean, when did Viagra come out?
I don't know, but hey, I love the internet because you could just Google things.
Because, like, I could imagine if Viagra came out in, like, the 80s, like, he's watching Viagra commercials.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
Did you find it?
Not yet. So I'm just looking here. So this, while I'm looking it up. So then
1998.
1998.
So okay, this is 8 years before. So I don't know what he's watching.
Yeah, I mean, maybe fragrance commercials, cologne, maybe cologne. I don't know what old people. I mean, in the commercials I watch, it's for like memory pills or
Well, I do find it. I do find it funny that one of the words that Grandpa Simpson doesn't want to hear mentioned anymore is family jewels. And the very previous scene, we hear Homer say, "Kick him in the family jewels."
Family jewels, yeah.
So,
I don't know.
Making fun of yourselves a little bit, which is great. You got to have a good sense of humor about that.
Yeah. So Grandpa Simpson, he's very knowledgeable. He's like, you gotta stick up for yourself, fight back, and then Jasper comes in.
I need the crossword puzzle.
And they fight, and he gives in and gives them the crossword puzzle, and he's out. So obviously he doesn't have the experience, but his friend Herman does. I'm guessing those guys were probably in the army together.
Well, but here's the thing. Herman only looks, I don't know, maybe mid-30s, maybe early 40s. Grandpa Simpson's got to be in his 80s.
Yeah, I don't know where
what I'm thinking is Grandpa knows him because he owns like a workshop kind of thing, and Grandpa likes to go there.
Well, he never leaves the home. He doesn't have a car. I don't know how he gets there.
So maybe Herman visits him?
Maybe. I don't know. It's really weird to have him as a friend.
Yeah.
But so, and then they go knocking on the door, and Herman's like, "What's
What's
the
the password?
password? Let me in, you idiot."
Now, is that really the password, or is Herman like, all right, I'm not going to deal with this old guy. I'm just going to let him in?
Yeah, that's just, I mean, he's obviously a paranoid. I mean, something must have happened to him to make him very paranoid about the government.
I
To be kind
mean,
of,
it's possible. I mean, there are a couple other episodes with Herman, so we'll
yep.
have to keep an eye on that.
Yep. So I wrote down something that I saw in his shop. He has African shields and spears in his shop. Now I know it's an antique military shop,
Yeah.
so it kind of fits the bill, but it seems weird for like guns, ammos, grenades, handguns, all that stuff that wound up
Yeah.
in his shop. So that's kind of funny.
And as we see, Herman lost an arm, and Bart being a curious kid asks Herman how he lost it, and Herman goes, "Well, I didn't listen to my teacher, and I didn't keep my arm inside the bus." So according to Herman, he lost his arm because he kept his arm outside the bus and lost it.
Yep. Now
And now if that
Now, wasn't this a reference to when Krabappel? So when they went on that field trip to the power plant, didn't she say something about keeping your arm inside the school bus?
I mean, to be fair, on almost every field trip and any time you're on a school bus, the bus driver or the teacher always tells the kids to keep your arm in the school bus. It could be a reference to that. Also, it's possible that Herman lied to Bart because he didn't want to tell him the truth.
That's possible, but I think it was a throwback to that episode, the episode 2, where they went to the power plant and like they were like she said something about a kid losing an arm out of a school bus window, and then by episode 5 we see Herman who says
Yeah.
he's the kid that lost it. So I think it's just, I don't think it's an urban legend. I think Herman.
So then, how old is Krabappel then? Or is that a story that was just passed down?
I think it might have been a story passed down then.
So then Herman, Grandpa, and Bart devise a plan to get back at Nelson Muntz, and according to Herman, the key of battle in Springfield is Elm Street.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is where I believe the arcade is located.
We'll have to check that out because that's our next episode.
No, they talk about it in this episode because they talk about how where Nelson and his cronies like to hang out at the arcade on Elm Street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right.
So as you previously mentioned in the last episode where you said you were always right, yeah, no, you're not.
80% of the time I'm right. 100% of the time.
Okay, Anchorman.
All right. So, like you mentioned, the Battle of Springfield is Elm Street. The Greeks knew it. The Carthaginians knew it. And now you know it. I want to know how the Greeks knew it. The Carthaginians, maybe they came to, the U.S. and had a battle in Springfield. But the Greeks?
Also, Herman is crazy. Don't forget that.
He is quite insane. But I do like that he said the Greeks knew it.
So as the kids, Bert gives this rallying speech and says, "I can't promise you victory. I can't promise you won't get beat up." And the kids start to leave, and Bart's like, "Wait! No, I can promise all that stuff." So then they go into a montage, as we mentioned at the top of the episode, where we see them marching, we see them doing an obstacle course, and I wrote down the chants that they do in the episode. The first one was, "I got a B in arithmetic, would have had an A, but I was sick." So I don't know how you were in arithmetic. I was decent in math. I maybe it's just a battle cry.
Maybe
for them.
Maybe they just missed a test.
Yeah,
that's why I got.
But then you would have failed the test. You would assume, not going to be.
Maybe. That's That's the overall grade, though. You can miss one test.
Gotcha. So the second one was, "We are rubber, you are glue. It bounces off of us and sticks to you," which is a classic line when, a kid's getting made fun of and they're trying to diffuse the situation, and like, "I call you an idiot." And you say, "Well, your words bounce off of me and stick to you. And so it's classic. It's a classic thing to say to a bully, and obviously this episode centers around Bart getting bullying. So I think that's a pretty good chant to have for the kids.
Yep. And then in English class, I did the best. I cheated on the test. It seems like a very Bart thing to do.
Yes, very Bart thing to do.
And then lastly, we are happy, we are merry, we got a rhyming dictionary.
So clearly, these kids might not be the... Well, we know Bart isn't a smart kid, but like... Man, you have to get a rhyming dictionary to rhyme, arithmetic with sick?
Now it's been years past this. So
Yeah.
it's been well established. Obviously, this is 1990. It's well past this. But in Futurama, when Bender goes on as a folk singer, he got a rhyming dictionary.
You're right. You are right.
So don't know if Matt Groening had a tie-in sort of thing, like, oh, I did this and now this. Obviously, I don't know if he's necessarily the writer on the episode who came up with it, but I kind of saw a nice little tie between those two things.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of tie-ins between Futurama and The Simpsons that we will see down the line.
Yep. All right.
I mean, created by the same guy, so there's going to be crossover.
Yeah. So, but remember, The Simpsons did it first.
You're correct.
The Simpsons did it. All right. So I think it's funny that most of the kids in Bart's class you never see again in future episodes.
Well, I think you see them, but you don't necessarily hear from them.
Yeah. It just seems like they... You know what would have been a good kid in the whole Bart thing? Wendell.
Yeah.
Wendell would have been awesome in this. I bet he would have thrown up at some point.
Probably.
All right, so they're on the day of the battle. They're kind of sitting down and they're kind of going over battle plans. And then if you look at the town of Herman's model, he misspells Quickie Mart as, as quick, like the word quick.
Yeah, I did not see that. That's a good catch. That's kind of funny that he wrote it that way.
And now,
but here's the thing: did he misspell it though? Or did they know they were going to have a Quickie Mart and they respelled it for later episodes?
That's what I'm thinking, because I don't think we've seen the Quickie Mart yet. We haven't seen Apu yet, so I don't think we've actually seen
the after the battle plans, you see the bullies walking and they did get squishies. So they did go to the Quickie Mart.
Yeah.
Because that's the only place to get squishies.
Or maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's a Quickie Mart and a Quickie Mart in the town of Springfield, and the other Quickie Mart got demolished at some point.
It's possible. I do love the fact, so the bullies are spotted on Elm Street. They start pulling them with water balloons. Nelson and the bullies are getting phased by it, and you go back to the Simpsons house, and Grandpa and Herman are sitting in the tree house. And Homer yells at the kids to keep it down, and Grandpa throws a water balloon and hits Homer. And Homer doesn't have the best eyesight, because I can't imagine that tree house is too far away, because Grandpa's old, so I can't imagine he's got the greatest arm strength. Because he's like, "Oh, you kids, keep it down." How do you not know your own father is in a tree house?
Yeah, and wonder why he got there, and who the crazy psycho guy he's with in the treehouse.
I mean, yes, Homer's been shown to be very unobservant, but in this situation, I'm my first question would be wait, why is my father here?
Yeah, be like, hey, Dad, what are you doing in that tree? I don't know anything. I mean, that was really funny. And then so obviously battle's over. Nelson gives up. And they write the treaty, and then at the end, Marge is like, "Oh, I'm glad you guys made up. Here's cupcakes." So cupcakes solve all problems.
But I thought alcohol solved all problems.
Well, technically, cupcakes started the problem.
You're not wrong.
Cupcakes solved the problem. So, and then they're obviously I wouldn't necessarily say that's the moment that Bart and Nelson, I wouldn't say become friends, or
because I feel like there's a couple other episodes where Nelson still bullies Bart.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of keep an eye and see how we're going to see how many times Nelson breaks the treaty of this episode.
Yes,
we'll keep an eye out for how many times Nelson breaks this treaty. But Nelson and Bart do become more partners in crime
Yeah,
in the future, as opposed to being bully
yeah.
and bully.
And I thought it was interesting how they closed out the episode with an epilogue where Bart is actually talking to the viewer. I don't really think we see that a whole lot in
No,
The
we never.
Simpsons.
I mean, the only time we ever see the Simpsons talking directly at us is the Treehouse of Horror episodes
Yeah,
and the like kind of those special 100, the 100th
yeah.
episode anniversary and stuff like that.
But this
But
was this was particularly interesting that they did it this way.
yeah, I wonder if something triggered this episode in the 90s that was like,
Well, I think wasn't it 1990 Desert Storm?
yeah, so it might have kind of maybe
Because
that's
I mean, early Simpsons episodes are very like social commentary esque.
yeah.
They were the original South Park because the Simpsons did it first.
Yep, exactly. So nobody wins at war. The only good wars are the American Revolution, World War II, and the Star Wars trilogy. Which, I mean, I don't. I mean, the Star Wars. I mean, it was a good war to watch as a movie, but
Yeah,
overall, I don't think the people in the world of Star Wars would call it a good war. But I
correct.
did I did write down the Bart quote. So contrary to what you've just seen, war is neither glamorous nor fun. There are no winners, only losers. There are no good wars, with the following exceptions: the American Revolution, World War II, and the Star Wars trilogy. If you'd like to learn more about war, there's lots of books at your local library, many of them with cool, gory pictures.
So like, yeah, I agree with them. Star Wars, the original Star Wars is fantastic viewing. I mean, yes, the American Revolution was vital to America staying America, and obviously World War II. I don't even know if I'd call World War II a good war.
I mean, we destroyed Hitler.
That was
Well,
good, but how many people died in that war?
yeah,
Millions. Like,
you know,
again, nobody wins at war. There are
exactly.
only losers.
Yep. And so
Like,
then we get yep, and then we get the end credits over the Simpsons house,
which was I
and
thought was also interesting because normally they do it on a black screen, at least in the
yeah,
first few seasons.
yeah. The first season they didn't, or the first episode of season one they didn't, and then this episode they did it over the Simpsons house.
Yeah.
Um,
So I absolutely love this episode. I love the cultural references. Uh, Bart stands up to a bully, and you know what? Last recourse. I mean, obviously, you should always try to talk things out. And usually, when a kid is being more aggressive in school, and as we learn later on, Nelson's home life isn't the greatest. It's no excuse to be a horrible person, but a lot of bullies tend to not have good home lives. So talking is always your best option. Obviously, they went to a war, quote unquote, and threw water balloons, but I thought the message of this episode was really good. I thought it was really well done. I thought the jokes were on point. The cultural references were really good. This episode to me is not quite everything's coming up with Millhouse, but I will give this an sprinkles because I love this episode, but not enough. I think there's just a couple things in there that, like, again, there's the disjointed, like, going from scene to scene a little bit to me. And obviously, I get it. They did this in 1990, but it is a fantastic episode. And the only good war is the Star Wars trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6.
yeah, I do like the fact that because obviously the original or the episodes 1, 2, and 3 aren't out yet, so they did say the Star Wars trilogy.
Yep.
But I would love. I mean, it would be hilarious, mind you, just downright hilarious if they re-edited this episode for like Disney Plus, and Bart, instead of saying the Star Wars trilogy, says the original Star Wars trilogy.
I wonder, I'm sure they could probably edit it.
I mean, it's only an extra second
Word.
of
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Only a second of time. So I think it'd be hilarious to go back and re-edit that. And just like you, sprinkles is definitely where I'm at. I do love the Grandpa Herman stuff. Like, it's just really funny how nuts Grandpa Simpson thinks Herman is, but he still thinks it's the best course of action to
Yeah.
talk to this guy, even though he thinks he's out of his gourd crazy.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Bart and Lisa stuff, just, you know, the standing up for one another. Oh, there was one other thing. So when Bart was late, I did want to mention this. So when Bart was late to the treehouse, Bart hacked up his hat twice. So Bart shoved Nelson's hat down his throat twice.
You got that backwards. Nelson shoved Bart's hat down his...
Yeah, twice. I mean, that's just really fun. I don't know why Bart allowed it a second time. He must have known it was coming, or just not wear a hat to school for. If you know your hat's in trouble, don't wear a hat. And I'll close with that. All right, so let's get down and close out our episode today with our character profile of Herman. No last name given. His occupation, owner of Herman's Military Antiques. His past occupation, he once ran a counterfeit blue jeans operation out of Homer's garage. Now,
that's a great episode.
Amazing episode, but the problem, I guess, don't take these character profiles as future tense or past tense.
Yeah.
It's just, so obviously this episode is definitely way later down the road.
Yeah.
But what's weird about it, and me quoting it like that, is it says he once ran a counterfeit blue jeans. So it sounds like either he did both simultaneously, but it makes it seem like he did that before owning the shop.
Yeah, it's really weird because that episode where they do run the counterfeiting jeans is definitely, I would say, in the future, as future could be relative in The Simpsons. Obviously, they do go to the past and future stuff, but like, yeah, that's interesting that he that's as one of his past occupations, even though we see that run in a future episode.
Yeah. All right, his voice bears an uncanny resemblance to that of George Bush.
I think that's on purpose because I'm pretty sure, and hopefully one of our listeners can correct me on this if I am wrong. Desert Storm was in 1990, so maybe that's why they did it, to kind of make fun of George Bush.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely plausible. But I guess we'll have to. But it's obviously ongoing. I don't know how many episodes Herman.
So really I just looked it up just because I was curious myself. So the Gulf War. So Operation Desert Storm was like, I think, a little bit later. So the Gulf War started in August of 1990. So obviously this took place in January of 1990. So I'm going to correct myself and say it probably has nothing to do with Desert Storm. Ignore all that. You're probably gonna hear me say it a couple times during this episode. Once you reach this point, ignore what I said about Desert Storm. Way later.
Yeah. All right. So his pet peeve is pacifists.
Makes sense. He's a war guy.
Yeah. Prized possession: an A-bomb built in the 1950s to be dropped on beatniks. Which I think we do actually see that A-bomb in a future episode.
I think we do.
And then Springfield lore: lost his arm sticking out of a school bus window after failing to heed his elementary school teacher's warning. So, according to this, he lost his arm back in elementary school.
So, yeah. So, clearly, you know, if that is a reference to when Krabappel said something on the field trip episode, clearly that is a story passed down, and clearly it's a true story, and clearly you should listen to your teacher then.
Yep. All right. So, guys, until next week, this has been the... What?
Hey, where can they find us to listen to this?
Yeah, I know. Okay, sure. So, fine. Yes, right. So we are on the Facebooks at the Simpsons Did It page.
Who are you, Grandpa Simpson? The Facebooks?
I am the Facebooks. And we're also on that Instagram at the Simpsons Did It Pod. You can find us on currently on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, and Radio Public. By the time you listen to this, we might be on iHeartRadio.
Excellent.
I submitted our podcast to them, so hopefully by the time this episode airs, we are on iHeartRadio. So, let us know on our Facebook page what you thought of the episode. If you think our rating was good, it should have been lower, higher. Let us know what you think. And until next time, I am Steven Skolansky,
And I am Robert Skolansky.
and this has been The Simpsons Did It.
Shh.